Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Wolfson. Today I've got a great interview lined up for you. I am speaking with Garrett Patten. He is a filmmaker, producer, director, actor, a big name in Hollywood, and he recently produced and directed, or he executive produced and directed the short film Self-Custody, which focuses on a true story of a man losing access to his seed phrase and trying his best to recover those funds that were in his Bitcoin wallet. And it goes through the hurdles and everything that he goes through to recover that. So today I'll be speaking with Garrett about the film, the goal behind the film, why he made it, why he created it, his thoughts on self-custody and cryptocurrency. So this is a great episode if you are interested to learn more about a Hollywood executive's take on self-custody and Bitcoin. So stay tuned for everything. In this episode, you don't want to miss what Garrett has to say. Before getting started with today's interview, I also want to take the time to remind you guys to smash that like button, hit subscribe. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. I've got a lot of great content coming your way soon, and I want to stay in touch. Also want to take a moment to thank our sponsor behind today's episode. You'll hear from them later on in the podcast. And without further ado, let's get started with today's interview. Hey, Garrett, how's it going?
Hey, Rachel, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And, you know, it was a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago now that we met in person at the premiere of Self-Custody at South by Southwest.
Yeah, that was a good time. You know, we got a lot of great press and, you know, couldn't be happier how the whole event went down.
Yeah, no, it was a great event. And I'm just so glad that we could reconnect and dig deep into self-custody and your background.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. You know, obviously with your background with crypto and Bitcoin, and obviously that's what inspired us for the film. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Garrett, before we get started with the questions, could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got involved being a filmmaker, director, and producer?
Yeah, it's kind of a wild story. You know, I've been in the business world. I've done private equity, ran some businesses, but I always had a background in film. Went to University of Southern California for film. Growing up, spent a lot of time making films. Out of college, you know, executive produced several different films. And then I had a liquidity event back in 2017, which I kind of exited the business world. And since then, I've been full-time in film, directing, producing, acting. You know, I've been involved, I think, now with 15 different films and different capacities. And just, you know, I love every element of it. I love being in the edit room. I love doing color correction. I love doing sound mixing. I love doing the actual, you know, table reads with actors, and the whole thing of it, the art at the end of it, when you have this piece of art that you could put together and you could share it with the world, it's just like one of the most gratifying things that I find.
Right, right. How old were you when you got started with the filmmaking industry and just acting?
Acting has been now, I started with an acting, you know, I started off wanting to learn how to act so I could become a better director, because I directed a couple things. And, you know, when you learn to act, it's a whole different language that you use to talk to your actors as a director. And then I fell in love with the craft just as much as I like directing and producing. Acting, though, has been now for 3 or 4 years. We're directing and producing. It's been about 9.
Wow. Okay. Great. Wonderful. And so you were, I mean, I think you were the main character in Self-Custody. Is that fair to say? Were you kind of like the main character?
Yeah. No, it was, actually the story of Self-Custody was inspired off of, you know, real events. You know, a lot of people don't know, but there is a lot of missing Bitcoin and crypto out there, over 200 billion worth. And I had a couple close friends that a similar story had happened to, and I found it so intriguing. And it was a role that I thought I could play really well, because it's something that, it's a guy that comes from the business world, and he has a family, and he's trying to recover his Bitcoin. And it's something that I just gravitated to. And yeah, it was something that was really just kind of talking to me for years, and I decided that it was time to make it.
Yeah, definitely. So for our listeners that haven't seen Self Custody, can you kind of tell us a little bit about the film? It's a short film. It was what, like 40 minutes long?
Yeah, only 31 minutes. Yeah.
31 minutes. Okay. So tell us a little bit about the film and the goal behind creating it.
Yeah, well, the ultimate goal. Well, first off, I wanted to tell the story. The story is a man who finds out that he had Bitcoin bonus to him back in 2012, and there's a lot of stories out there like that. But he doesn't have his seed phrases or his PIN code to access it. He was on financial ruin, and he goes on this journey to try to get access to a large amount of money, which is in Bitcoin, but can't access it. And there's a lot of firms out there that claim that they'll help you get access to it. I think some of them are real, but there's a lot of fraud in that world as well. Like the FBI has been shutting some of these firms down. And so that we follow one particular story in this of a guy trying to reclaim his lost Bitcoin. And yeah, like I said, it's inspired off of true events. And it's the goal with the film is, we see initially when I did it, I saw it as a proof of concept for a full feature. Now we're in a lot of talks with people to make it a series, some pretty serious ones. And I think that's probably the path it's going to head. It's, think of like Billions, the show Billions, but think of it in the crypto world. And that seems to be the direction that we're headed in.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. And I'm sure our listeners who are mainly crypto natives are excited to hear about that. But the story, it's kind of, especially for people that hold crypto, right? Like it's kind of an anxiety provoking story, and it's based on a true story. It's based on someone who I guess you knew, who got a bonus in Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden they can't recover their keys. They go to a firm to try to get help, and that's not possible, right? And then at the end of the movie, the guy kind of goes crazy. So I think for people that hold crypto, this storyline, it's going to obviously provoke a lot of anxiety. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think now that I've spent a lot of time the last couple of years in this space, I think that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's the, look, the purists, they don't want a middleman involved. They don't want someone else holding their money. That's self custody. You hold your own money, but it's also the thing about responsibility. So the other side of the coin is, well, if you're not responsible with self custody, it could be tragic. And so that's where a lot of these cases come in. But I think that is what attracts most people to Bitcoin is, look, they trust themselves. Now, where a lot of it gets lost is somebody has Bitcoin and they don't tell their spouse their seed phrases, or they don't tell anybody else, and something happens to them, and then there's no, and they don't tell them where their seed phrases are, and then there's no access to it. But so it's almost like the blessing and the curse is what attracts so many people to Bitcoin is self custody, but it's also what leads to a lot of tragic stories is self custody.
Yeah, I agree. Garrett, are you a Bitcoiner, or do you hold crypto yourself, just out of curiosity?
A little bit. And so I'm part of this financial group where a bunch of these guys are big Bitcoiners. And we did the whole thing like a year and a half ago where we, created our own wallets, logged in, did the whole thing. And we, all of us bought Bitcoin. I don't have enough. Look, I sit here and I look at what's going on with national debt and financial situations around the world. And I also think that AI is going to cause the debt to go up even more. So the Bitcoin and other asset classes like that become more and more attractive. So I do plan on becoming, and I think right now it's in a little bit of a downturn. I think it's a good time to get in. And based on the current financials of the economy of the United States, it becomes more and more attractive every day when we can't balance a budget.
Definitely, for sure, for sure. So I was also curious with self custody. The premiere was at South by Southwest this year, which was last month. And during the premiere, and I asked you this at the premiere. So we were, and we still are, I think, in a bear market, right? Bitcoin is hovering around the 70,000-ish mark. I think it was a bit lower during South by Southwest. So what are your thoughts on the fact that this movie premiered at South by Southwest during a bear market. Do you think that's going to impact the views or anything with the film at all?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think you can look at it like that. I think when you invest in any asset class, you're in it. You should be in it for the long haul, and if you're willing to wait out the downturns, I think. Look, I think for Bitcoin and crypto particularly, I think the future is really, really bright. Yeah, it was down at 62 or 63, and it peaked at 120. But I just think that's an opportunity. And again, like with the current economy and the current where we're headed as with our national debt, I think it just becomes more and more attractive. And that's what I think also self-custody is. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, look, they didn't know much about crypto at all. They watched self-custody. They watched, we tried to keep a lot of those beats really true of how you log into the Trezor wallet, how you do the PIN code, how you do the seed phrases, and all the elements of the stress of self-custody, but also why people are attracted to it. And we tried to keep pretty true to what it is. So I had a lot of people tell me that they learned a lot about Bitcoin and crypto just by watching self-custody. Yeah.
And I think that makes sense for sure. I mean, as I was watching it, it was realistic. I'd say it was realistic. It's a scary story, in my opinion. It's like every Bitcoiner's worst nightmare, every crypto holder's worst nightmare is basically what, and I'm not saying, and I enjoyed the film. It was wonderful to watch it, but losing your keys and your seed phrase is a nightmare. Right. And so, I think that people can learn a lot from the film, but I also do think that, it's a scary film.
I've had a lot of people call me up or message me and say, I loved your film, but you stressed me too much out.
I was stressed out.
Yeah. I mean, look, I panic when I lose access to my email. So you lose access to your email, and you're like, oh, geez, and you got to go through this whole process. And I've had times where you actually have to call GoDaddy, and then you're on the phone with them for 3 hours. And just that whole process is nerve-wracking, let alone tie it to a significant amount of money. It's very nerve-wracking. But you talk to the other side of the coin again, and that's what really attracts people to it. Banks only secure your money up to $250,000 or through the federal government. Well, Bitcoin, you secure your own money.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Now, you said that it was a large amount of money in the film that he loses. What was the amount again of Bitcoin?
In the film, it was 14.3 million. And we kept that true to if he would have got a certain amount of a bonus back in 2012 from a company of what the current market value was at the time that we were shooting. Yeah.
Okay. I see. Yeah. And like you said, this was based on a true story. So was that amount accurate?
The amount from the real, so first off, there are 4 or 5 stories that I kind of brought together on it.
Okay.
One of the stories, yes, was very close to that amount. Some of the other ones were in the 4 to 5 million range, but a significant amount of money. But there's the guy in the UK whose girlfriend threw out a hard drive worth 700 million worth of Bitcoin. I think he's been petitioning with the local government and the landfill, trying to dig it up to go find his Trezor wallet, which is out at the landfill. So, I mean, there's stories from people losing $1,000 to 700 million.
Definitely. So, Garrett, you mentioned that you're thinking of taking self-custody and making it a series. So when you say series, do you think that it's only going to focus on lost crypto, or are there going to be other parts of the series that might focus on, like AI agents to trade crypto for users, or is it just going to be stories about this person lost their crypto?
Yeah, without giving too much of it away, because we are in the process with some very, very talented showrunners and writers, and I was on a long call yesterday, but it really would incorporate a lot of different areas of crypto. It's looking like it's 6 different plot lines that all kind of meet together in one. You got to kind of think, Adrian's character would have a much bigger role. He'd be in charge of the group that runs the organization that is tied into all these different crypto plot lines. but it's not just all about lost Bitcoin. There's several different plot lines.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the crypto world is vast. I mean, I've been in it since 2017 and I've seen the ups, the downs, the crazy events that people go to. You know, it's like there's just so much, Garrett. There's so much that you can cover in a series, and I can't wait for that. I just can't wait to watch the series.
And it's crazy because I've had some big Bitcoin guys reach out to me since self-custody was launched and tell me other stories. And so I've been connecting a lot of those to the showrunners. And, you know, it's so fascinating out. You know, you sit there and you think that a guy could have his seed phrases and have, let's say, $10 million tied to that. And if someone else gets access to those seed phrases, the money could be gone. So that from a Hollywood perspective, when you think about like the old school bank robberies and you think of things like that, well, the crypto world brings in a whole nother element to it because, you know, think about how many movies where somebody's being held at gunpoint and they're like, do the wire transfer right now and send that money over. Well, in the crypto world, all that's traceable in the wire transfer world. In the crypto world, if somebody comes into somebody and they get their seed phrases and they transfer that money, it's a whole different animal. And that's what's really intriguing from a Hollywood perspective.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear you say that because, you know, you are the first person I'm interviewing that is in the Hollywood industry that's actually, you know, making, producing, directing these films. And it's interesting to hear and see that crypto and Bitcoin is like now being paid attention to by Hollywood, right? This industry that when I entered it in 2017 was the wild, wild west. Nobody knew, there were no regulations. Nobody knew what was going on. I mean, when I started holding Bitcoin, I had no idea it was going to reach 130K or whatever the all-time high was. And so to see that Hollywood has taken an interest in it and that you've taken an interest in it, like it just shows that crypto has come a long way.
Yeah, I think so. And I think also, I mean, how many stories have there been out there in Hollywood about bank robberies? And bank robberies, now the feds are involved and there's car chases and they're leaving the bank and they're doing all this. Where if you look at the crypto world, I mean, that's the beauty of it is you are responsible for yourself. But if you're held at gunpoint and somebody gets your seed phrases, I mean, those type of plot lines are very, very interesting. Because it isn't as regulated and there isn't a process when that happens to go recover your Bitcoin.
Right. I mean, and we hear stories all the time, Garrett. I don't know if you heard about this one, but I think it was in Palo Alto where, you know, there was someone, a big Bitcoin holder, and they came in and they kidnapped some, you know, criminals kidnapped, I think it was his girlfriend, or they came into the house trying to look for the Ledger wallet. I mean, there's so much and these are true stories, right? So there's so much that you can cover in one series when it comes to like these horrifying events with self-custody.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the whole other side of it. But then I have a lot of great friends that have made a lot of money in the crypto world too. So I mean, it's just a really intriguing concept as a whole. And I think, you know, and I think as an asset class, you know, I think it's even more and more attractive every day.
Now, a word from our sponsor.
What if you could talk to anyone, past or present, like they were actually there with you? With Otherform.ai, you can create incredibly realistic AI versions of people using voice, video, and personality training. Want a lifelike mentor, a digital version of yourself, or even a loved one's legacy preserved forever? Otherform.ai makes this possible. We're starting with a limited white glove experience that's custom built, deeply personalized, and unlike anything you've ever seen before. Go to otherform.ai to learn more and build something that outlives you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about self-custody now in terms of the cast, because you had, and it was a small cast, but it was a really good cast that you chose for the film. It was Adrian Grenier. Am I not pronouncing his last name correctly? I always get
Grenier. Yeah.
Yes,
Grenier.
yes. I always get it wrong, but he was in the film and he had a very, you know, I thought he was going to be the main character actually, but his role was very brief. He was there for like 5 minutes on the airplane.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Adrian's a really good friend of mine. We've done other projects together. I know that he's, what do you call the crypto? He calls himself the
Bitcoin Maxi.
Yeah, Maxi.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
Yeah. So he actually identifies himself as a Bitcoin Maxi. And so when I had this script based off of the true story, and I had the role of Kevin Hertz as the name in the film, I sent it to Adrian, and I knew it was going to be perfect for him. Because if you listen to the monologue that he gives on the jet, those words would come out of Adrian's mouth without it being a script. And so that's how perfect it was. And, Adrian's a big actor. He doesn't do many shorts and things like that. He's taken his break from Hollywood. He moved to the ranch, and he's been out of Hollywood now for 5-6 years. I think now he's finally ready to get back in. So to get a guy like that to do a short, it had to be a role that just really spoke to him. And I think that's why that's such an epic monologue. I mean, those words would come out of Adrian's mouth.
Yeah, for sure. It was a short but very noteworthy scene. And then Michael Monks was also in the film as the financial advisor. And it was really cool because I actually sat next to Michael during the premiere.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael, when I was directing some other films, I'd asked, so Michael runs an acting program.
Okay. Right.
In Los Angeles. He's probably been in 80 films. I mean, the guy's a brilliant actor. But I had always worked with him on getting casting. I say, hey, who do you have that's up and coming? We got a couple page role here. Who do you really like? And he'd send me people. And then when this story came along and I wanted to really dive into the mind of an actor, I did a like 5 or 6 month program with Monks at his school.
Okay.
So that's how he became part of it. And I'm like, the perfect role for him is to play the financial planner. So I actually got to act with my acting coach on film, which was really cool.
Yeah. You guys had a really good synergy. Michael was great. And then who else? And then there was your wife. Who was your wife, the actress who played your wife in the film?
Yeah, Odette Annabelle. I mean, look her up. She is fantastic. I mean, I can't say enough great things about her. I mean, she's been in like Texas Walker Ranger, House. She's been in a lot of big stuff. She's a really established actress, and she came because she lives in Austin, and our line producer knew her well, and I said, look, this is my first time as a leading man. I need somebody that can really pull some performances out of me. And so Ezra called Odette, and she just happened to have some days free living in Austin. And I mean, it was fantastic. Those scenes, she pulled those performances out of me. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you kind of come in thinking it's going to go one way, and then you get into it with an experienced actress like her, and it just changes everything.
Right. Okay. And then you also was he the former UFC fighter? Did I get that right?
Henry Cejudo, he, at the time when he was like 18 or 19, he was the youngest Olympic gold medal winner for wrestling. And then he went on to claim 2 titles in the UFC, Ultimate Fighting. And he actually just retired from the UFC in December.
Wow.
And look, I think he's got great charisma. He's got excellent energy. So we had 2 of the best stunt coordinators in Texas. And they're showing us how this whole fight scene is going to go down. And it looked awesome. Like you watch these 2 guys fight and you're like, they're hurting each other, but they're not. And Henry comes in and taught them things and made it even better. I mean, that's why that fight scene just worked so well.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, so I want to get your take on this. Would you consider this an action thriller short film? Is that the genre? Like what genre would this fall under? Yeah,
I would say thriller. We've been calling it a Bitcoin thriller.
A Bitcoin thriller. I love that.
Thriller, yeah. I think thriller is the right term because I mean, there's a couple great action scenes, but it's not. You can't really classify it as a full action movie because the first part of it's just stressful, thriller, Bitcoin suspense.
Well, I just like the term Bitcoin thriller. I feel like Bitcoin is very associated with the term thriller, right? Like there's a lot, you never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the people that you meet in the Bitcoin world, I mean, they kind of have a certain identity, it's like that I'm not going to say living on the edge because it's a great asset class, but it's just, it takes a lot. Like that's why this film and how it educated other people, because it takes a lot to learn how to even invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it does.
you go to like my parents' generation and you say, hey, you guys should invest in Bitcoin. They don't know the first thing about how to go set up a wallet and do all these things. And it's a whole deal. And so Bitcoin, it attracts certain people that will take those steps and go down that path.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've met so many characters in this industry, just people that are just so unique and different, and then just people that are very mainstream, right? Very financially focused. They think of it as digital assets and, something to hold in your portfolio, right? And then you meet like the Bitcoin maxis, like, Roger Ver, for instance, who I met ages ago, or like CZ, right? The founder of Binance. Like, these people are just so interesting. It's such an interesting sector, and you can focus on so many different things in this upcoming series.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the tech and financial kind of coming together. That's the way I always kind of look at Bitcoin, because it's like a lot of the big Bitcoin guys are, you kind of feel like they're tech guys too. It's
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I think that, yes, if you're tech focused, you know how to set up a Bitcoin wallet, you know how to set up your seed phrase. And it is like, it's stressful, but the good news is that it's becoming easier, right? Like Coinbase now, it was making it a lot easier for people to just open up a Coinbase wallet and start buying, selling, holding crypto. I mean, that's not self-custody, right? But it's a way to get started. Self-custody is obviously a bit more tricky.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think that, the big, with Coinbase, it's different, but I think with some of the other online wallets, there's some people that have a fear in the online wallet. So that's where self-custody really comes into.
Of course. Yeah. No, I mean, I think self-custody is obviously the best option for anyone that has a large amount of cryptocurrency, or even like one Bitcoin, at least one Bitcoin, right? Like, I think self-custody is the best option, but there are other options out there, which I'm wondering, for your series, is that going to explore other options, or is it just going to focus on self-custody?
Yeah. So, I mean, no, not just self-custody. So basically there's going to be, we're playing with it now, but let's call it 6 to 8 different plot lines of different areas of Bitcoin that are all kind of intertwined with a company like a Novalink. Novalink's the company that Adrian runs in the movie. Mm-hmm. And so each plot line is completely different. One will be more of a self-custody plot line, other plot lines, but they all kind of come together.
Okay. Cool. And one thing, Garrett, what I would love to see in the series is more women in the series, right? So with self-custody, you had your wife, and then I think your children. I think you had, I don't know if it was, you had a daughter. I don't know if it was a son and a daughter.
Yeah, two girls.
Two girls, right? So I'm hoping to see more women in the series, because there are so many great women in the crypto industry. And to see, you've got the crypto bros, right? But then you've also got like these very intelligent, amazing women in crypto, which I'm really hoping that your series highlights.
Yeah, absolutely. So the showrunners have, on the call yesterday, they've been breaking it down into the different plot lines, and a few of them are heavily strong in females in crypto. Yeah.
Good. Okay, perfect. Okay, Garrett, I know we're running low on time. So is there anything you want to add that I haven't already asked you about in terms of like the film or what we can expect next?
No, I mean, I guess I would just say, I think that Hollywood is really kind of coming into the crypto world now and realizing how much there is there, how many stories, how much content there is there, the good, the bad, everything. I think as we look towards the future, I think that crypto and Bitcoin and all that really have a strong place in society. And so as a filmmaker, I'm always looking for things that kind of have that edge, try to find things that people haven't really explored as much before. And I just think for future films, I mean, you think about AI, you think about crypto, you think about all these things kind of coming together of the society that we're becoming. It's to me, I love making films based off of true stories. I have another film that I directed coming out called The Iron Door. That's like 50% of it's based off of factual events out of Joshua Tree, which I'm close to right now. Uh-huh. And I just love it. I love things that people could say they could really relate to. And that's why I think the crypto space is so so intriguing to me because there's a lot there. There's just a lot there. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, I'm just so happy that you are making films about it. And there is a lot there. I mean, from what we saw with Sam Bankman-Fried, and I was at Crypto Bahamas, where you had all the characters there with SBF. But I mean, that's a film in itself. So but there are so many aspects of the crypto industry that it just really excites me to see that someone like yourself is focused on that and bringing that to Hollywood, because that's going to get viewed to like a mainstream audience, right? We're taking it out of the crypto sphere.
100%. And I think it sheds light on the crypto world. And, I think people, like I said, as the U.S. debt continues to grow, I think people are going to have to really start to look.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Well, Garrett, I'm hoping to see you at some crypto conferences. Hopefully you'll be at like Bitcoin 2026 or Consensus.
Well, Adrian, Henry, and I will be in Vegas on the 28th.
Perfect. Yeah. For Bitcoin 2026. I may be there.
Oh, great. Yeah. Let's connect, because we're doing a fireside chat that afternoon. So. Okay.
Perfect. That's great. Yep. I'm in San Francisco, so very close to Las Vegas. Garrett, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, or if they want to watch Self Custody, how would they do that?
Yeah. So Self Custody is now on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Plex. We have an Instagram page, Self Custody Film. But if they want to get in touch with me, my production company is called TBK Productions. So if you look up TBK Productions, that's my company. I got a lot of awesome films coming up. I'm, like the show we talked about, I'm working on a Mike Tyson biopic. I got another AI type movie called 48 Hours coming out. I have a Grateful Dead movie. A lot of different things that I'm working on. And so I'd love to connect with people that have ideas and want to tell cool stories.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure our listeners are excited. Garrett, thank you again for taking the time to chat, and hopefully I will see you in Vegas in a few weeks.
All right, Rachel. See you then. Thanks.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Special thanks to 4 Labs Digital for producing Deep Dive Podcast. I'd also like to thank the sponsors behind Deep Dive. You can click the links in the show notes to learn more about each of the initiatives from these sponsors. Finally, thanks to the listeners for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and share.